marriage is not a place to be me focused, right? If there's one thing that marriage requires, it requires a cross. But on that cross, it requires not your spouse to die. It requires you to die. And that's the danger in social media, is that we make everything look so beautiful that we don't really even tell the truth about what marriage requires. Here's my truth. In my marriage, I realized that I couldn't talk to my spouse any kind of way because I didn't have feelings. Growing up, I learned to protect myself because of childhood trauma. And one of the ways that I protected myself in that childhood trauma is I didn't let anything bother me. So you could basically just say whatever you wanted to say to me, and I had developed such a hard shell that it literally did not bother me. But because it didn't bother me, I didn't even think twice that my tone of voice, right, that my tone of voice would actually bother somebody else. And it wasn't until the Lord spoke to me and said, you were not just speaking to your husband, you were speaking to my son. That required me to grow up. It required me to change. See, my husband, right, was a mirror that reflected where I was weak. It reflected my ugliness. It reflected the areas that I needed to grow, right? It reflected the areas where I needed to come up to the highest elevation of what Christ has called us to be. Because here's the truth about marriage. I believe that in marriage, just like in life, you will have many happy moments. But marriage in totality is not about your happiness. Marriage in totality is about your growth. And one of the ways that God uses marriage to grow us up is to challenge us by allowing our spouses to reflect back to us who we really are. The selfishness that we really possess, right? The parts of ourselves that are not kind, the parts of ourselves that are not holy, the parts of ourselves that are not so submitted to God's will, right? That we lay down our will to pick up his will. I can't even tell you how many times that my husband showed grace to me. But in that grace, I had to grow up. Because grace doesn't just give you a license to continue being nasty. Grace gives you the opportunity to grow up.
Anybody tired of messing up time after time after time after time? Anybody ready for change? Make some noise.